Thank you guys. I appreciate it. It's good to be back here in Anderson for sure. You know, I almost feel like a local here because I'm thinking about, I'm looking at Neil Paul over here. I see him all the time throughout the year. You know, he's a Bassmaster Marshal and stuff, but I've fished Bassmaster Opens here. I fished two Bassmaster Classics here. I actually fished my first Bassmaster Classic here on Lake Hartwell. Of course, I fished the Elite event here a few years ago. So I've spent a lot of time here. I certainly like this area. I love being from Tennessee, but I could definitely see myself living here. It's a cool part of the country for sure. You guys are blessed with a lot of really good fishing around here. You got Hartwell and all the different lakes that connect to it and stuff. So certainly good to be here. You know, thinking about topics for this deal, it was kind of Richie's idea. I'll give him credit. He was like, "Man, why don't we do chatterbaits versus swim jigs?" Because a lot of times, you know, you can get away with one or the other because the fish are just biting. But there's a lot of times that I think, you know, I don't know if there's a bait out there over the last, I'm gonna say 10 years, that has won more money on the tournament scene than a chatterbait. That has been more dominating in tournaments across the country. I mean, we're talking from Florida all the way up to New York. I've had good events in Florida and New York on the chatterbait. Um, you know, but also throwing the swim jig in there too. It can be really, really good. So that's what we're going to talk about. What I want to do is I kind of want to go through my chatterbait setup, what I like in a chatterbait, what chatterbait I throw the most, because there's a ton of them on the market nowadays. And then we'll do the same exact thing with a swim jig. And then toward the end, we'll kind of tie the two of them together and compare and contrast and how you pick one over the other, or why would you pick one over the other. You know, so you pull up midwayusa.com and you look at all the different chatterbaits on the market now. Berkeley's got one, the Evergreen Jackhammer. Um, there's so many different ones. Picasso makes one. Will they all catch fish? Yes, there's no doubt they will. What sets them apart, you know, is kind of that action, and we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. Me personally, and there's something you need to realize about me. I've been doing this 10 years, and in that 10-year span, I've only had two tackle company sponsors, and that's kind of been by design. Certainly, I don't have anything against working with a tackle company. You see Live Target on my jersey now. That came together back last year because Mustad actually acquired Live Target, and I'm getting an opportunity right now to kind of revamp that brand. And we're working on a lot of cool stuff coming down the line for sure. But when it comes to, I've always kind of been a free agent when it comes to what I fish with, the baits I fish with. Um, so in saying that, my favorite chatterbait is the Evergreen Jackhammer. I'm sure you guys have heard a ton about it. It's probably the most expensive one on the market, but for good reason. It's a dang good chatterbait. And the reason why I told you guys that about not working with the tackle company and stuff, I buy them just like y'all do, $15.99, $16.99, whatever they are on midwayusa.com. That's what I pay for every single one of them. And this box right here, I don't know if you can fit another one in there, but it's completely full of Evergreen Jackhammers. So that's the one that I obviously have confidence in, and I'll tell you why. If you take a jackhammer and you throw it in a swimming pool and it's coming back, if you put a little bit of English on that reel handle, you give it a little half step, that thing will juke over to the side. It'll juke over this way. Where the Berkeley slobber knockers and the Picasso bait, the ones like that, they're good baits. They run great, but they run absolutely true all the time. That's been my experience. They don't do that juking and jiving motion. That's what triggers those fish into biting. It's kind of like a cat in your living room. If you got a ball, you set it out there in your living room. As long as that ball stays still, that cat's not going to look at it hardly. If it just barely rolls across the floor, guess what? He's probably going to watch it go by. But if it's trying to get away from him, boom, he's on it. Same way with the bass. And that's why that's where the jackhammer sets itself apart in my eyes. And I can promise you there's been a whole lot of guys over the last several years. If you read bass fan articles and stuff, you'll see that unnamed bladed jig, Evergreen Jackhammer every time, promise you. That bait's won a heck of a lot of money for sure. And for that reason, I said, all right, let's get into fishing a chatterbait this time of the year when it's cold, because that's what we're all keyed up on. Cold water right now. The water's, I don't know, I hadn't been out on Lake Harwell, but I'm gonna say it's in the low 50s probably. Is that about right? Anybody been out there? That's what I figured. But it's never too cold to throw a chatterbait. I know guys on Lake Guntersville. I'm an hour and 15 minutes from Guntersville. Fish it quite a bit. I know of guys catching big bags on Guntersville in 39 and 40-degree water. And just to give you a quick little story, back in 2019, we fished the Bassmaster Classic on Fort Loudon, Tellico. Good buddy of mine, Ott Defo, won that tournament. And going into practice for that event, it was super cold. I mean, the water temperature was like 42 degrees, and I'm throwing all them fancy little Tennessee flat sides and shad wraps and stuff, and I'm struggling to get bit. And I'm like, I get back in this pocket, the water's a little bit stained, and I pick up a chatterbait in 42, 43 degree water, and those fish are just slamming it, man. I'd go out on the main river, throw it up on a point, catch one on it. And you know, Ott ended up winning that event partly on the chatterbait on the last day of that event. So it's never too cold, and it goes back to that that cat in the living room I was talking about. It triggers those fish into biting. There's something about that tight vibration and that hard vibration that really triggers them in cold water. If you think about one of the best cold water baits of all time is a lipless crankbait. And I definitely put a lipless crankbait and a chatterbait kind of in the same kind of category for sure, because of that vibration, that sound, and that real hard, just that tight, hard thump. It really triggers a lot of fish in cold water for sure. All right, let's go to the next slide here. Chatterbait habitat. Okay, I think if I had to draw up the perfect scenario to throw a chatterbait, I would picture a big flat of grass, scattered hydrilla, 4 to 6 feet. That's like perfect chatterbait habitat. Hydrilla and a chatterbait go together like peas and carrots. I mean, they do, they really do. Now, milfoil, good too, but hydrilla is just, it'll break free of it really good. And there again, going back to trigger and bites, when it breaks free,